30% on average, and is making species disappear everywhere, and plant life die, and crops fail, and poisoning the entire globe's soils. It's all confirmed. We have the patents, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. Just mass, absolute destruction. Weapons of mass destruction are being sprayed on all of us, but they're soft kill, delayed action weapons that will incrementally phase in. And the globalists have studied our human weaknesses and life's weaknesses. They know that deer will drink out of a poisoned pond, especially if it takes a few months to kill them. It builds up, then starts killing them. The deer will drink until the last deer is dead. Same thing with humans. And the globalists admit they studied scientifically every aspect of human activity as if they were an alien species. That's their words, not mine. I'm not saying they're actually an alien species. They've said we see ourselves, the elite, as a separate species, and we analyze you. We've tracked every exit, every program. We're going to chemically brainwash you. We're going to brainwash you through the TV. We're going to break your families up. And why are we going to do that? To orderly kill you. Now, I know reality's hardcore, but I've presented it here to you. I've told you what's coming next. I've broken it all down. And so, because of that, we are launching the tweet bomb at Twitter, twitter.com/RealAlexJones. Just go to Infowars.com. And the top of any article, you see little icons, and you see one with a T. And that's the Twitter link. And we're asking everybody, if you have a Twitter account, to simply Twitter out the term Infowars.com. No W in front of it, just Infowars.com. And then put a short description saying Infowars.com is exposing chemical warfare operations, or Infowars.com is exposing the chemtrails, so that they will go to Infowars.com and see red linked at the top of the page, geoengineering our environment under attack. And it is a 7-page, highly bibliographed, where every incredible claim is linked directly to the government themselves. Again, it is public that the U.S. Army and Marines grow the opium and ship it into the U.S. They put it on the news in your face. That's the new psychological warfare tactic, because they can't hide it. Because they couldn't hide the chemtrails, it's now in your face what they're doing. It's for the earth, of course. Cutting off carbon dioxide, plants breathe, is for the earth. Spraying aluminum dioxide on the plants and the humans and the animals. Brain disorders off the charts. Just the soils that can't produce. Don't worry, though. Monsanto is coming out with a whole line of aluminum-resistant plants that can grow in it. See, the globalists destroy God's creation incrementally, but then after they've cut your legs off, they come and sell you a peg leg and crutches. See how that works? See how that works? We'll be right back. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read Paul Joseph Watson's article in its entirety coming up later in the hour. And then the balance of the broadcast will be other important news, video clips, and your phone calls. But the headline is Geoengineering Our Environment Under Attack. Just as the TSA issue, with their groping and their radiating and their thieving and stealing and pedophile behavior, has woken up the country across the political spectrum, it's the same with the geoengineering, also known as chemtrailing, that is admitted to now be going on. The article is Geoengineering Our Environment Under Attack. The greatest public health threat can no longer be denied, by Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones. I did a little bit of a report last night. I'm going to do a big TV report tomorrow night, and I will then play it the next day, Wednesday, here. What's happened is I've been studying this for 17 years. I was aware of it right when I got on air. People were bringing it up, engineers, scientists, and others. They said it's barium salts, aluminum dioxide, it's weather modification, but there's something else going on here. And then, of course, 15 years later, 14 years later, John P. Holder and the White House science czar came out and said, yeah, we've been doing tests. They're secret. The details are classified with barium salts, aluminum dioxide. And we found the patents, how it's added to the jet fuel. The companies don't even know. It's just incredible how they do this stuff. It's all through compartmentalization because people are so gullible, they never know. Then you ask, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? We have discovered why they're doing it. To control the weather and destroy foreign countries' economic systems and reduce population. A State Department memorandum, 200 states, to use food and weather and other systems as a weapon to starve out countries that are overpopulated. Economic warfare. Also, on the economic warfare front, to poison the soils where only genetically modified crops can now grow in them. That's part of the strategic program. And then you've got to have the cover story since the meddling conspiracy theorists, i.e. people that do deep research, go to the library, search government databases, risk their lives, know what they're talking about. You know, while you're off watching the football game or at the topless bar, we're reading CFR and Trilateral Commission documents. And because of meddling freedom lovers, meddlers who don't want their kids being sprayed with barium salts and aluminum dioxide, we knew exactly what it was. So now they've come out and said, oh, yeah, it is aluminum dioxide and some other things, barium and other things, and we're now going to go operational. All this stuff you've seen first starting in Europe and the U.S. and Canada, it's now going global, and now it's seen global. Now it's seen global. They have global standardization where the governments say, you know, these are the companies you use for the jet fuel. This is the specs. It's added. Then they have special spray planes on top of it that go up with other cocktails to actually block storms when they're coming in. They want to create a drought. Mumbai, Dubai, China. It's in the news. They're building giant antenna arrays to control the weather. Our criminal government has it as well. The Russians have it. They've got them all over Northern Europe. They've built these arrays. They're playing with the jet streams, everything. And again, you have a total national security state operating in Europe for 200 years in secret, over 200 years. You have a national security state since 47 with unlimited funds, can kill whoever they want, do whatever they want. Of course they run child kidnapping rings. Of course they ship the drugs in. Of course they're putting poison in the water. Of course they're GMO. They're playing God. These are the types of people that want power. They're the ones that want to get immunity. And once they get the power of a king, of absolute sovereign immunity that they claim through criminal force, it's a fraud, but they say they have it, they can do anything. So, of course, they gave a guy, what, in 92? We're going to cover all this in tomorrow night's report. Of course, they gave a Nobel Prize in science for it. And they went global with it by the mid-90s. They went in Europe and the U.S. and other areas, but totally global in the last 5 years. And it's here, it's happening, we're fighting hard. We're fighting as hard as we can. And they treat us just like animals. We live in an artificial habitat. They are now manipulating the weather. They're poisoning us. The neurological disorders, you can just search neurological disorders growing exponentially. I mean, young people are getting Alzheimer's. People are having Parkinson's disease just everywhere. Young people, muscular dystrophy. It's just everything. We are being... Cancer, 2,000-3,000%, depending on the type, off the charts. Diabetes, 2,000-3,000. You know, it's tripled in the last 30 years, doubled in the last 10. It's just mass death. They're just killing us. And then they've always got treatments that keep you alive a little while from the system they've already hit you with. Now, we're Twitter bombing. We can push this to the top of Twitter, Infowars.com, Twitter that out to everybody, and then retweet. It'll push it up there into the top terms, and then millions of people will come find the geoengineering article. So tweet Infowars.com with geoengineering.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run.
Okay, continuing here. I'm about to get into geoengineering up front earlier in the broadcast, or once I get into other news and your calls, I'll never cover it. But the reason we're having people do a tweet bomb is because whatever is trending near the top or the top of Twitter comes into contact with millions of fluoride heads, people that are obsessed with celebrity, all that garbage. And one area we really haven't dominated, and we need to, is Twitter. And this weekend, it just hit me Saturday. I took the kids down to Barton Creek. It's a dry creek bed to, hike a mile or two. And I just saw planes. It had been a blue sky when we drove down to Barton Creek. And by the time we got there, it was just nothing but pure chemtrails. and they were low-lying. They were high. They were not ice crystals. They were not dissipating, if you're a new listener. If you go back to the mid-'90s, that's when all this started. And then, sure enough, that's when the secret government program, now admitted, began, but the details remain classified. And they just say, we're saving you from global warming. That's all you need to know. Really, by spraying aluminum dioxide on us, that's the main thing they're spraying. And yes, it does form nuclei. And then I've talked to different scientists. Depending on where they spray it, it can actually heat the Earth up more because the ultraviolet radiation goes through the clouds and then bounces back up, and the heat that bounces back up does not escape. I mean, did they blow holes in the upper atmosphere when the U.S. government alone tested over 300 high-powered hydrogen bombs in the upper atmosphere? They tried to blow up the Van Allen radiation belt once. It's all in a Discovery Channel thing narrated by William Shatner. From that, you can go pull up the government documents. It was declassified, I don't know, about 15 years ago, and then Shatner did a show about it. And it shows them trying to blow up the atmosphere. In one test, 30-plus high-powered hydrogen bombs are fired up into the upper atmosphere. It's out west, I think, Nevada, and you see giant nuclear explosions up in the edge of space trying to blow holes in the atmosphere. Why? Because they can. I mean, I'm trying to give them a good reason. Did you blow a hole in the atmosphere? Are you trying to save it? I don't know. No, the answer is absolutely not, because these aluminum dioxide, barium salts have nothing to do with that. They're just playing God. They're testing how to control weather patterns, and it has the added thing of poisoning the soil and hurting people and reducing fertility and causing brain damage. So, and again, the public is like children. Because it's not on the nightly news, they don't care. I mean, it's admitted in government documents. They admit they're doing this, but they're just like, well, that's not a big issue if you're spraying me and my family with aluminum and barium and sulfur dioxide and other little goodies. So I'm going to get to that in a moment. But if you're a new listener, or somebody's been listening a few years, or you've been a casual viewer, and you're like, Alex Jones is a nut. I've heard it and seen it a million times. He thinks they're going to set up a world government, and they're going to collapse world economies, and he's all gloom and doom, and, you know, the debt rescue deal is going to save the U.S. in 2008, and we're not in a recession or a depression, and, oh, the European Union's not going to have a problem. And now you've seen all that happen because it's designed. And I told you, every new country they take over and blame the imploding economy on is just a way to get trillions more of your tax money. And the very banks, the very 6 mega banks, not your regular banks, but the big boys that run the whole New World Order, the Ponzi scheme operators who've got national security. They can deal drugs, they can launder money, they can kidnap, they can kill people, they can insider trade. Above the law is what it's called. Because, you know, grand juries will not indict them. Grand juries will not indict people who get, like Sandusky. By the way, the judge that let him go and reduced the bond down to nothing and wouldn't even put a bracelet on him, turns out she works at the Second Mile Foundation. Of course she does. Helping the children, of course. Of course, and they've sent in the former, well, no, current head of Merck, but the guy that